maybe if I can ask, I just feel it's going to fit a bit better, Paul. If we can maybe just have a quick response from you before we go to Gregory. I want to swap you two around. Paul, if you can just, I think briefly, just give a reflection short on what you've heard that Michael said, and then also make an update on Graham, and then just saying something about the Chief Justice new appointments. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Arno, and thank you, Tata Michael, and also Arno, for the presentation you made in Africa. Very powerful reflections that need to be discussed. I was actually in Paris this past weekend, closer to you, Arno, and we were mobilizing people for elections, doing voter education. It's very, very important that we become those active citizens. It's not only a citizenry responsibility as citizens of South Africa, but it's also a biblical responsibility that God has given us. So I really want to join my voice to the voices of everybody and say, let's all do what we can. Our motto in Paris was Arachencheng. That's what we spoke about. And Arachencheng is Setswana to say, let us change. It's time for change. And we are the change because God has said we are the salt and we are the light. So change is not going to come from out there. Change starts with us. And that was the message right there. So very, very thankful for that. I want to give let me just maybe connect that to the aspect of the Chief Justice, maybe, since we're still talking about governance. And then I'll conclude with prayers for Graham and update on Graham. The aspect of the Chief Justice is very, very important. And I do want to say this. The public submissions have been taken already. On the 16th of September, President Cyril Ramaphosa made a call for nominations for a selection of a new Chief Justice. And I think about 148 submissions were sent, and the deadline was on the 1st of October. And that was narrowed down to 8 shortlisted candidates. I do believe one of the candidates, which is unfortunate, has declined the role. And I'm saying unfortunate because it's a candidate which the body of Christ had put forward. So one of them has withdrawn, leaving us with 7 selected candidates. And what's important of that, I've just put, because of time, I can't give a lot of information on that, but I've put a link there, Joy Magazine article that I wrote that instructs us how to give feedback. We have until Friday at 5 o'clock this Friday to give feedback and to give input on the 8 shortlisted candidates. We have until Friday. And there's a link there that tells you where to go. There's a link for the presidency where you can look at the bios of each and every candidate and you can make input. And then there are 2 email addresses in that link, which tells you where to make your submissions to. Beloveds, let me just say this, it's very important. The Chief Justice role is one of the most important roles. And we have to have a voice in selecting our leaders. We cannot complain after this. If we have immoral, unethical leaders who are making decisions that are wrong for our country and we have not made input, we have no right to complain. So it's a very critical role. The Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary. He's the head of the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court is the highest court in the land. It is so he has much responsibility in terms of development of the land. The Chief Justice also is the person who he heads up the JSC. He's the JSC, Judicial Service Commission, is responsible for appointment of judges. The Chief Justice also makes input in terms of the Judicial Code of Conduct. That is the code of conduct that says, what judges can and cannot do. What we cannot afford is to have, it must be a person of honesty, of integrity, of transparency, and morality, because this is the person who will make a huge input in development of the law. And the law determines what we can or cannot do, our conduct. It controls our behavior. So please, South Africa, I urge you to do that. Let me quickly go to Graham, because I know because of time and you have to monitor time. But that was just to throw in. Please read the article and the link. It will give you all the information that needs to be done for there. But very quickly, Graham Power is a beloved friend of ours and a member of this body, CLF. The Lord used him mightily to, start the Global Day of Prayer, which is now a worldwide prayer movement, which was birthed out of South Africa. I think last year, apparently about 300 million Christians were involved in the prayer movement, and it started in 2001. So it's a 20-year movement, Global Voice of Prayer, Global Day of Prayer. It started with 87,000 participants. So we want to lift Graham up in prayer. It's now been birthed into Global Voice of Prayer, which I'm also privileged to be a part of, and Global Voice of Prayer Africa, which focuses on Africa, which I'm also a part of it. This is our area of focus. Graham did put a note in, but it was last Thursday that he was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. And I'm sharing this with his permission and his family's permission and asking for prayers, acute myeloid leukemia. And so what we want to pray for is to pray for his immunity also, because the treatment he's receiving has brought his immunity way down. And we want to also pray for a bone marrow match. His brother Alex has the same blood type, and his sister Avril also have presented themselves for bone marrow match. So please, those of you who are intercessors, just go into the heavenly realms and war. Graham has been talking about the 3 waves. And the wave we're about to enter into is the wave of revival, which was prophesied for South Africa. The enemy clearly does not want this to take place. So it's not just about praying for Graham, it's about praying for also for South Africa and the prophetic word concerning South Africa. So thank you for that. And lastly, quickly, please, Arno, if you could just allow me to say, because this forum, we've said that we stand for Israel. We support Israel. I just want to throw in that, please pray for Israel, lift up Israel. There is a meeting going on regarding Israel where there is an attempt to reverse the observer status that was given by the African Union. And there's a meeting going on. So let's lift up Israel. And I believe South Africa is the one that's been asked to drive that drive against, to remove Israel observer status. So I just wanted to throw that in as a last prayer point, please.
Thank you so much, Pearl. Excellent. Those points are well taken note of. We'll include them in prayers. And even the last point, as we know, it's the first voting opportunity in a new normal, post all the other things that have happened. So we need to pray for this government and vote according to the Lord's guidance.